Welcome to Module 1 of the Resume Assist program. This module will focus on resume components that will get you noticed. The learning objectives that we will address in this module are that you will be able to identify what information must be included on your resume based on reviewing the job posting. You will also be able to state information that is important to include on a resume, including, but not limited to, education, related experience, certifications, skills, volunteer work, notable related accomplishments, etc. So if you've experienced building a resume or have looked at resumes yourself, you know that there are some common headings that are utilized in order to help you organize your information. They are listed here in this photo, and it's important that your resume is seen as a microscope into your basic life. So what is a resume? Well, a resume is a brief account of a person's education, qualifications, and previous experience, and it's typically sent in with a job application. A common error that a lot of people do, especially when they're first resume writing, is that a resume is not an autobiography. Employers do not really care what you accomplished in elementary or high school. They are more focused on your recent accomplishments in your post-secondary education in order to enter the job market. So with that in mind, a resume should be only 2 pages maximum. You shouldn't have more information to include than 2 pages. So now you're probably thinking, where do I start? Well, first of all, you're going to want to look over job postings carefully. You may choose to print them out so that you can doodle or write on them, or have them screenshotted on a tablet so that you're able to reference them often, especially when you're about to apply. You may want to hop onto the company website and look at its mission statements and values just to get an overall idea of what the organization stands for and where it's heading in the future. Finally, use any connections that you have at this point. These could be connections through your school, through your workplace or internship, or personal connections that you have made outside. Any connections will help you land that job that you want. So this is a basic job posting for a sales associate position, and we have just underlined some job-related skills associated with this position. So you can see that they are looking for someone with good communication skills, someone who is experienced in conducting webinars, is obviously available outside of work hours to attend meetings, and also it looks like they want someone who's a good group speaker. And they also look like they want someone who is good with the software programming that they utilize for the webinars. So all those skills, if you have them, are assets to this company. Now, moving on to an administration assistant posting, you can see that there are adaptive and transferable skills. The adaptive skills are outlined in pink, and these are skills that you have to adapt to different situations. So you can see they're like able to change with work environment, have good people skills, and willing to take more responsibilities, is flexible. So you can see these are things that they're going to want you as a worker to be for them. Then there are transferable skills. These are outlined in blue, and you can see that they hit items like you're able to multitask, you have good organizational skills, you have good verbal and written communication skills, and all these are transferable not just for this position in particular, but for many different positions that you will apply for. So just some quick statistics for you just to outline how important these skills are. 67.3% of all recruiters say that communication is the most important skill that they look for on a resume. So ensure that you can communicate to them via your resume how good your communication skills, verbal, written, different languages that you may have. If you have any experience communicating online in different aspects, as that's an up and coming skill that employers are going to want to see. 77.8% of employers desire leadership and teamwork among new grads. So if you've ever worked in team environments while in school, if you were in an internship, if you worked on any research projects, they really like to see that on your resume. Technical skills are desired by 67.5%. 1 in 3 skills listed in a job posting are basic skills. So you can see even in the job postings we just showed you, they looked for verbal and written communication skills, Microsoft Office skills, stuff that you may not think is that important to include is very important to outline on your resume that you're proficient in. And finally, 1 in 4 skills are basic skills, even in a highly technical field. So that's important to note that they're just looking for the basics in an entry-level position. With that being said, the top 5 universally desired career skills are verbal and written communication skills, leadership skills, planning and strategic thinking, so that's looking forward to the future, analytical thinking and research, and finally, teamwork or collaborative work, as most work environments do expect you to work in a team environment. It's important to note that technical skills are something that you can always learn, whether this be on the job or through further training courses that you can sign up for. If you're lucky, your employer may even pay for them. So let's move on to the basic components of a resume. The first component, and possibly the most important component on your resume, is how to get a hold of you. On the top of your resume, in very prominent space, you should include your full name, mailing address, email address, and specific with your email, it is important to note that it should be a professional email. Whether you set up a new Gmail account with just your first and last name, or you utilize your school account, either one would be appropriate for applying for a job. What is not appropriate is the email you set up back in elementary or high school. Any of those emails most likely are not appropriate to apply for a job. A phone number, one that you actually pick up and have a voicemail attached to, whether that be your home phone number or your cell phone number. And finally, if you have one, it's a good idea to provide the URL address for your website or portfolio. For most post-secondary graduates, your next section should be education. You should provide the name and location of the institution, the degree or diploma that you received, and the area of study or major. You may have multiple entries depending on how much post-secondary education you may have had. It is important to note that your elementary and high school should not be included in this section. The next section should be related experience. This varies, but should include employment history, any experiences that are related to the job you're applying for example, any internships or specific job experience that you have in that area, and finally, volunteering. For each of these, make sure you include the title that you held during that position, the organization name, the location, the dates you were there, and a brief summary of the accomplishments or responsibilities that you had while holding that title. This will give an employer an idea of what your role in that place was. Other optional components that you may want to include on your resume can include an objective statement, An objective statement is something that is outlining what the goal of your resume is. In this case, 9 times out of 10, it's to achieve the position at the company you're applying for. You may also choose to include a summary. It's basically a sales pitch for yourself that is listed at the top of your resume in order to just give a brief outline. This hits that 6-second mark we talk about. Next, you should include any licenses or affiliations if they are applicable to the job you're applying for, any certifications, any additional training you have, specific skills that you have pertaining to the job, any awards or recognition that you have received, hobbies or interests. Specifically for people who are working with children, you may want to include this in your resume, and any technological expertise, any specific programming software that you are familiar with, especially if it's applicable to your field, should be listed in this area. References should be provided on a separate page with your contact information as a header if requested. It is not necessary to write references available upon request at the bottom of your resume. Employers assume that at some point they will be asking for references, so you can just have them ready in a similar format to your resume on a separate page. Some quick tips about formatting your resume. Starting with font, make sure that you keep it simple and professional. The size should range between 10.5 and 12-point font, and you should stick to no more than 2 fonts on your resume. The graphic below shows some fonts that are more appropriate for resumes versus inappropriate for resumes. And I'm sure looking at this list, you can probably find some other fonts in your word processing software that may not be appropriate for use as a resume. Formatting. You're going to want to stick to a 1-inch margin and have it be single-spaced. Between sections, you should have 1 blank line. Formatting is very specific to the type of resume you choose to write, and we will go over the types of resumes in Module 2. Some points to avoid. Number 1, spelling and grammar mistakes. This is a major turnoff for anybody who reviews resumes. Ensure that you are always customizing your resume for each application. By not doing this, you are basically telling the recruiter that you do not have time to ensure that the resume meets their posting. Avoid rambling. Any personalized information such as your age, birth date, or SIN number should not be included on your resume, along with any photos or headshots. Salary information, whether it be in your previous work experience or expected salary information, is not appropriate to include on a resume. Thank you for completing the video for Module 1 Resume Components. Your next step is to scroll down this page and complete the remaining Module 1 activities. Thank you.